I'm going to share with you what are my top 8 locations. From my least favorite to my most favorite. I'm going to share with you the pluses and minuses of each, because one of them that may not be my favorite may be the perfect location for you. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to share with you an alternate location that I really enjoyed and I think may be the perfect location for some people, maybe you. Stick around and let me know what you think. We've got a lot to talk about, and let's get started.
Leave your luggage unattended on the station.
So what makes a great place to base out of in Rome? Only you can answer that for you, but for me, I want a place that's safe. I want a place that I enjoy waking up in the morning at, a place that I look forward to coming home to at the end of the busy day in Rome, and it's gotta have great food. Also, it's gotta be well connected.
Next stop, Arcivescovado.
So here's a map I created of the neighborhoods in the city center of Rome. This here is kind of the central area, and these outlining areas are some of the neighborhoods just outside the center. So the first neighborhood we're going to visit is the neighborhood near the train station, Termini, which is called Esquilino. Now, how is Esquilino as far as basing your trip out of in Rome? For me, it's not ideal. In fact, it's my last pick of the 9 places, and here's why. Esquilino is a little bit seedy. It's not like it's super dangerous or anything, but again, late at night I don't feel super comfortable there. And then also, it's not an area that I really look forward to waking up in the morning or to come home to at night. Termini, while it's kind of on the edge of everything, as you see, let me show you another thing here. This is kind of why you came to Rome, more than likely, to see all the different sites, you know, Spanish Steps, the Trevi Fountain, Jewish district, you know, Trastevere, the Colosseum, Circus Maximus, and all the other sites. Most of them are quite a ways away from the Termini train station. Yes, it's very easy to hop on the metro or a bus, but I like being in areas that are more connected by foot, and this area just doesn't offer that. Having said that, it may be ideal for those that are coming to Rome for just one day. Maybe you're coming in and you have to catch a plane out in the next morning, or a train out to another city, and you just want to be near that train station. Maybe that's going to be the perfect location for you, because it is very easy just to access those services at the Termini train station without too much trouble. Before we move on from the Esquilino neighborhood, there is one site just a short walk from Termini train station called La Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore, right here. Let's go down and take a quick look. If you're new to our channel is all about helping you make the most of your next visit to Rome. Consider subscribing if you're going to be visiting Rome in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. Remember, if you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up.
You are reminded to stand behind the yellow line.
My 8th favorite place to base out of Rome is the Prati neighborhood, right next to the Vatican. This is this big area out here. Now, it's a great location for those that are coming to Rome that primarily want to visit the Vatican Museum, maybe Castel Sant'Angelo. And if that is your main focus, then being close to those items can be a real advantage to you, right? You don't have to take that transportation early in the morning to get there. You're going to already be very close. But if you're going to see the rest of Rome and you want to see Trevi Fountain and the Colosseum and all the other sites, it's probably not the ideal location. I stayed in this location once and I felt a little bit isolated. What was nice is there's a couple metro stations, so it's very easy to get onto the metro to head to other areas. But again, I enjoy walking to most of my locations, most of the places I'm going. I don't want to feel like every time I want to go somewhere, I need to hop onto the metro. So that was the biggest problem I had with Prati. Yeah, it was nice being next to the Vatican, but I only needed to go there for a few hours. And the rest of the time I wanted to go visit and see all these other sites. Overall, Prati neighborhood gets number 8 in my list of the top 9 places to space yourself out of in Rome. Before leaving, let's go take a look at some of the sites. There's a couple right here in the Prati area. One is the Castel Sant'Angelo right down here. Another location that's probably the most famous location in all of Rome is, this is a really majestic street as you come down here. There's that right down here. If you come down into the Vatican City, and this big church here is St. Peter's Basilica. Let's take a quick look. And just adjacent to St. Peter's Basilica is the Vatican Museum over on this end here. And those are the major sites of the Prati neighborhood.
The train is now approaching platform 1.
So the third neighborhood that we're going to visit, which is number 7 of my best places to base yourself in Rome, is the Testacio neighborhood. We've been up here to the Termini, then over to the Prati, now down to Testacio. And all three of these, what they have in common is they're kind of just outside the historical area of Rome, okay? So like the other two, you're going to be reliant on the public transportation, whether that's a taxi, the bus, or the metro to get to most of the areas in Rome. But the advantages is the Testacio is kind of like a traditional Roman neighborhood. It's clean, it's a family-oriented neighborhood, and if you're looking for a more authentic experience with less tourists, this could be the ideal place for you. Again, this is just a helpful kind of visualize how far away most of the sites are. I know this isn't exactly meters or anything like that or kilometers, but it gives you an idea that you're going to have to walk quite a bit if you decide to walk. So let me go back here to this map. This shows you this is the Testacio neighborhood right here. This is the Tiber River. If you zoom out a little bit, you're going to see this is the Trastevere neighborhood. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But down here, the metro station that you're going to probably use, it just depends where you're at in this neighborhood. It's a 5 to 10 minute walk. It's right down here. It's the Pyramid Station. It's called the Pyramid Station because Testacio, or Rome, has its own pyramid. People didn't know this, but this pyramid was built in 5 BC. Another thing I want to point out while you're in Testacio has, I mentioned it has some of the best food in all of Rome, but there's actually a Testacio market right down here. See this building here? It looks like solar panels up on the roof. Those are actually like sky windows to the building. And within that building, there's all kinds of stuff. There's food and there's clothing and hats and all kinds of stuff to purchase. But the main thing I'm telling you about is the food, because it's kind of like a food court without the, the chains, without the Panda Expresses and the McDonald's. These are all Roman originals. A lot of great things to experiment with, to try. I mean, there's probably more than 25, 30 different restaurants in here. All very affordable, all very good, and more than anything, you just get to try some great food in Rome that you otherwise would not get the opportunity, because they may only be sold right here in Testacio Market. A quick interruption to tell you about our new travel guide called Rome Travel Guida. Yes, we have a travel guide. Check it out in the description, but in brief, I want to tell you it's got tons of information that will help you as you plan your trip to Rome. Lots of information to help you while you're in Rome. Plus, we get to share our favorite restaurants, gelaterias, pizzerias, street food, so much more. It also includes a PDF. It's a booklet over 65 pages that you can download or you can print out if you like. So much information to help you have a great time in Rome. Check it out. There's a discount code in the description. And back to the video.
Please stand clear of the edge of the platform.
My 6th favorite place to base out of in Rome is the area of the Spanish Steps. The Spanish Steps are probably the most famous stairs in the world, if not the world, certainly in Italy. It's absolutely gorgeous, this area. The area is very well maintained. Here's what I would say overall about the area. It's a little bit more upscale, meaning you're going to end up probably spending a little bit more on accommodations, even when you go out to eat, and even the shops around it are kind of expensive. You got all the high-end designer shops there, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all the rest are right along Via Condotti. It is convenient because there is a metro station right there at the Spanish Steps, so if you're in the area, it's very easy to hop on the metro to head to other areas of the city. There's also a large taxi area there. So if you're staying in the area and you want to grab taxis, there's lots of taxis that come into the Spanish Steps, so it's easy to grab one from the taxi station there at the Spanish Steps. But again, The walkability is pretty good. Let me show you here on the Spanish Steps. The Spanish Steps, this is it kind of right here. Let me zoom in here a little bit. So the walkability is pretty good. You're kind of still on the north end of most of the sites. You've got Piazza del Popolo up here, the Vatican down over on this end, and then you've got the Circus Maximus and the Colosseum over here. The closest site is probably Trevi Fountain. It's probably maybe a 5 to 10 minute walk from the Spanish Steps. And so most of these other areas out here are going to be, 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes away from the Spanish Steps. Not too bad. Probably the negative is the walkability of the Spanish Steps is not as good as some of the other areas. On the other end, if you're looking for something that's kind of high end, a little bit cleaner, a little bit, I don't want to say safer, but it is safe. And you want to do a lot of shopping, like, you want to visit those high end stores and that kind of stuff. But it's oriented mainly around that shopping aspect. And if that's your thing, you're going to love the Spanish Steps. On to my number 5. My 5th favorite place to stay in Rome is the Trevi Fountain neighborhood, which is really kind of centrally located. Nice things about Trevi is it does have access to two different metro stations, both within about 10-minute walk from the Trevi neighborhood. Now, in honesty, I've never stayed in the Trevi neighborhood. Of all these places, I've stayed in every one of these neighborhoods, but I've actually never stayed in the Trevi neighborhood. But let me show you how nice it is as far as walking. This is the Trevi neighborhood. As you can see, it's kind of a spoke. Most of the things are within a reasonably walking distance of Trevi. I put this as number 5 because number 1, I've never stayed there, so I really need to hear from you what you thought of it. And when I have been in the area, it's nice. It's a little bit crowded for me, a little too many tourists, and I didn't think the architecture of the buildings and stuff was quite as interesting as some of the other areas. So having said that, I put this at number 5. I think it's great because you got the metro and you've got taxis and you got walkability, kind of all combining together, making it a very accessible location in Rome to base yourself out of. For anybody who has stayed in the Trevi Fountain area, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. Let us know what you thought about it. Much appreciated. All right, this is the 3rd trash can I'm trying to put my trash into. It's also overfilled, but let's see if I can find a place for it. I don't know. It's near impossible. There it is. I made it work. Somebody's got a mess to clean up.
Train number 457 will now depart from platform 2.
So let's dive into our top 4 locations to base your trip out of in Rome. Number 4. Now honestly, all 4 of these are great locations. You really can't go wrong. There are subtle differences that make one better than another for me, but that may not be the reasons they make it better for you. But let's first talk about my 4th favorite place, which is right here, great location, right near the Piazza Navona and the Pantheon, right here.
I'm feeling high when I'm low, I need it more when you're close to me, close to me. I'm feeling high when I'm low, I need it more when you're close to me. Oh, yeah, Hey!
Let me show you this map here. As you can see, we're getting even more of a spoke here. There's so many great locations right in the general vicinity of the Piazza Navona. In addition to having the Pantheon so close, there are also other great neighborhoods just around the corner, such as Campo dei Fiori, Largo, Argentina, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But in this area, it's just a lot of fun to walk the streets near Piazza Navona. Let me show you another map here. So here is the Piazza Navona right here. And all the streets that surround here, especially in this direction out here, here's the Pantheon over in this corner. It's just, like I said, it's like about maybe less than 5 or 6 minute walk to the Pantheon. But this street here, there's all kinds of fun restaurants to go explore. There's Frigidarium, which is one of my favorite gelaterias. There's a couple of pizzerias along here and all kinds of stuff. Just these streets are so fun to walk. They're narrow, they're interesting, and around every corner there's a coffee shop or a pizzeria or some kind of boutique that you can go and explore and just have a fun time getting lost in. As you can see, the roads really don't run any one direction. They're just all over the place. But that's Italy in general, and it's even exemplified here in this particular area of the Piazza Navona. But this whole area, finding an Airbnb or a hotel, it's a wonderful area to be based out of. Not only that, if you want to, you're really not that far from the Vatican once you're on this side of the Pantheon or this side of Piazza Navona. Castel Sant'Angelo is right here. It's really not that far of a walk to that. And you can walk up to the Vatican City just as easily from this area. In fact, if I was going to spend a lot of time at the Vatican, instead of staying up here in the Prati area, I'd probably just stay here. I'm not sure what this is, like the Ponte, or I'm not sure, but anyway, this section here is still a lot of fun to be in. You're still fairly connected to the rest of the city, and you can then walk over to the Vatican when you want to, or over to Castel Sant'Angelo or the Vatican Museum. And then there's this main road that's out here. This is where you catch a lot of the buses heading in different directions depending on where you want to go. Now this area really isn't serviced by the metro, so you're going to be reliant on the buses or the a taxi. So that's how you're going to get around, or of course your foot. And that's my favorite, and that's why I like this area so much, because most of the things that I want to see and do are going to be within walking distance, 10 to 15 minute walk in all kinds of directions. You can find all kinds of fun things to do. You can't go wrong if you end up staying in this neighborhood. You're going to love it. Down to number 3, my third favorite place to stay in Rome. This could very well have been my second place. It's really hard to pick one over the other when it gets this close, but it is the area of Monti. Monti is really close to this neighborhood I told you about when we started called Esquilino, which I really don't like, but just getting a little ways away from the station into the Monti area makes a world of difference. Monti is a fantastic neighborhood to be in. It's got fun places to explore, a lot of nice churches and pizzerias and boutique shops, fun streets to walk down, tunnels, alleyways, just a lot of fun stuff. And so one of the best things about being in Monti is there are 2 metro stations. There's the Cavour station as well as the Colosseum station. And another great thing about Monti is you're basically at the Colosseum. Some of the roads you look down in Monti, you can actually see the Colosseum from. It's just fantastic, great atmosphere. My only thing about Monti that might be a little bit negative, I guess, is that because it is such a great location, because it is so close to Termini station, it tends to be a little bit more expensive, and also in peak summer months it tends to be a little bit kind of over touristed or overcrowded, and that would be the real, I guess, negative of the Monti neighborhood. But if I were staying in Rome and I wanted to do lots of day trips, let's say I was going to be in Rome for 7-8 nights, being in Monti allows you to get to that train station in just like 5 minutes. And then you can take the train, down to Naples or Florence or, Frascati or Tivoli or all the other towns that are around Rome. So if I was going to do a lot of day trips, being close to the station, just a 5-minute metro ride makes a lot of sense. So that makes Monti almost my number 2 and possibly number 1. It just depends on the time of year. One more last thing I want to say about Monti is they are building a metro station that's going to go from Monti down to this piazza here called Piazza Venezia near the Victor Emmanuel Monument. Now this may not seem like that far of a distance, but having that extra metro station to take you down to here then puts you kind of in the center again, and then you can just explore here and then walk back, or walk one way and then take the metro back. So it just becomes that much more accessible once that metro line is in. And it's already great, it's already very accessible But those are some great things about Monti. Love the neighborhood. Again, I'm not so sold on it during the peak summer months as it is kind of crowded, but it's a fantastic neighborhood. You'll really love it.
Poste centrali, Ispettorato del Lavoro.
So we're down to my top 2 places where I enjoy staying when I'm in Rome. And my number 2 is the Trastevere neighborhood. I love Trastevere neighborhood. In fact, I probably stay in this neighborhood more than any other neighborhood, even though it is probably my overall number 2 pick. The reason is Trastevere has got its own personality. It's more of a neighborhood than it is a tourist attraction, and it's just so many fun things to do and see, and restaurants, and that's kind of what I enjoy. I don't need to see the Vatican or the Colosseum 10 times. I just want to enjoy the Roman life, and that's what this area offers, right? But if I was going to Rome for my first time, maybe I would stay in my number 1 location over Trastevere. We'll talk about that in just 1 minute. Let me kind of show you as far as walking. So this kind of gives you an idea. Most of the sites are going to be to the north, including a lot of the areas that I like to go up to, like Campo dei Fiori or Largo, Argentina, where there's Pizza Florida, my favorite Taglio-style pizza in Rome. You've got the Jewish ghetto just right over here. It's a 10-minute walk. I can go down there and grab some Jewish pizza, a different type of pizza, but I love it. And then there's so many other things to do up in there. If I show you to a map here, this is on Google Maps. Again, this is kind of the Trastevere neighborhood. You can see here's Tiber Island. Here is the main road that cuts through Trastevere. Here's a pedestrian bridge right here, and this is Piazza Trilusa, a real fun piazza just to go and absorb the atmosphere. There's always something going on there, concert or something going on there, a free concert. They're street performers, Some of them are more talented than others. Trust me, I've seen a few that I really didn't care for and others that I thought were fantastic. A lot of fun just to sit on the steps and kind of absorb whatever's going on in that square. And then you can just roam the streets, find some fun food. I don't know about fun food, but very good food. Fun streets to walk for sure. And I love the area. Then whenever you want to, you can just head away from this neighborhood into the rest of Rome, across the river, whether that's here in the Campo dei Fiori or up further to the Piazza Navona or over to the Pantheon or elsewhere. There's so many great things within a nice 10 to 15 minute walk, and walking really is the best way to get around Rome in my opinion. But if you ever do get tired and you need to get from A to Z a little faster, you can always grab a taxi or a bus. Anyways, if you get the opportunity to stay in the Trastevere neighborhood, I really think you're gonna love it. It's just a fantastic area.
For your own safety, stand behind the yellow line.
My number 1 place to base myself out of in Rome, and it changes sometimes. Sometimes I enjoy Trastevere more, and sometimes this location. It is the Largo, Argentina, Campo dei Fiori area. It's sandwiched right between Trastevere and the Pantheon, Piazza Navona area. It's this area right here. Why I like it so much is, like I said, I enjoy walking by foot to most of Rome's sites, and from here it makes it so easy. It really is kind of a spoke in the wheel. It's like the hub of the wheel, I should say, with spokes going out to all kinds of sites. And some of the ones that I like most, like I told you, I like coming down here to the Trastevere neighborhood. It's super easy, less than a 10-minute walk. I can head up to the Piazza Navona here and enjoy the nightlife there in the square. I can head over to the Pantheon. I can head over to the Jewish ghetto, which I really enjoy. And again, Circus Maximus isn't really that far away, just right down here. And this whole area is just fun to walk the streets, and not have to rely on that taxi or that bus or that metro. In fact, that's probably the negative of this area, is there is no metro currently. One day there will be with Line C, but right now there's no metro, and there'll probably be 10 years until there's one there. But they are working on it. But the area, even without the metro, because, you know, again, I don't want to have to rely on that. I like to walk by foot to most of the locations. I can even walk over here to Castel Sant'Angelo in, you know, about 15 minutes. And if I want to walk out to the Vatican, it's a little further, maybe 20, 25 minutes. I can also, let me show you another map. I can also, when I'm staying in this area, depending on where I'm staying, this is a square. It's called Largo, Argentina, right here. And in this square, what's nice about it is you can head to this square just about any time of day and get a bus going either to the train station or out to the Vatican. There probably buses come through here every 3, 4, 5 minutes. So there's quite a few of them. So you're not gonna have to wait long. And then you can also walk out, just depending on where you're staying, you can, anywhere on this street, if you're staying up in this area, you can just walk out to this main road here and also catch buses in both directions. Or you can head down to the river as well and catch buses. But I recommend you get them from up over here. So getting around the city is very easy once you get used to it. This area is just so central to so many things that in the evening when I want to go grab a great meal, and there's lots of great restaurants in this area as well, but if I want to head to Trastevere, I can just walk down here and in less than 10 minutes be in the Trastevere neighborhood and enjoy that neighborhood. So to me, I get the best of both worlds. I love Trastevere, and I love also the accessibility to so many other things. Just being across the river makes a little difference. I mean, it's a 5 to 10 minute savings to head to the Pantheon. Not a huge savings of walking, but sometimes just being central makes more sense than having to walk over. But when I'm feeling like I want to just be in a neighborhood, traditional area, a little bit more, you know, away from everything, which still it's busy over here. Don't get me wrong. There's tourists and there's things going on here. Lots of fun places to eat. Then I stay in the Trastevere neighborhood. But anyway, that kind of gives you an idea. You can't go wrong in either one of these neighborhoods. Rome's a great city. There are so many great locations. Now I'm going to share with you an alternate location. Staying in Rome is not for everybody, but a lot of people still want to visit Rome and be able to, you know, see all those sights of Rome without all the congestion and the city, big city life, I guess, the big city stress that goes along with being in Rome. I have an alternate location for you. Before I tell you what it is, I want to tell you how we kind of discovered it, so to speak. Not really discovered it, but you know what I'm saying. We got to Rome. We had some issues with our hotel reservations, and we were there on a Friday, and everything was super expensive. It was in the month of May. Most of the Airbnbs were sold out along with the hotels, and everything was $400, $500, and $600. So we got onto Airbnb and searched for little towns around Rome and found one called Tivoli. We weren't sure if we would really like it, but we thought, you know, it's only $100 a night. We're getting a nice 2-bedroom. Let's head to Tivoli for 3 or 4 nights, and then we'll head to Rome once we're done with Tivoli, or once, you know, the prices come down in Rome. We got to Tivoli and discovered, this was our first time there, it was like 2 years ago, but we loved it. There was so much to do in Tivoli. We found ourselves staying in Tivoli more than we thought we would. You've got Villa Gregoriana, which is like a gorge with waterfalls. It's like a nature hike and stuff in the city. You've got Villa d'Este, which has like 500 waterfalls, a beautiful estate, fun thing to go tour, you know, spend 3-4 hours at. You've got Hadrian's Villa, which, you know, is the ruins of Hadrian's Villa. It's a huge complex, compound, whatever you want to call it. It's like almost a half a mile, kilometer by kilometer. Lots of buildings, a lot of them have been destroyed, but there's still a lot there that, you know, has been preserved. And there's, you know, nice gardens, and it's just a fun place to go explore. But not only that, the city itself is very charming. Lots of fun streets. It's big enough to where you don't get bored, because some little towns, I mean, Frascati, for example, is a fun little town, but after about 3 or 4 hours, you kind of feel the walls closing in on you a little bit there. Where Tivoli felt like, you know, there's still more to do and see. Even after 3 or 4 days there, we still had a great time. Lots of fun places to eat without the big crowds. We could easily take the train into Rome. It takes about 40-45 minutes. It's not very far. It's only like 20 or 30 kilometers from Rome. But, you know, the train makes stops along the way, so it does take some time. but 45 minutes really isn't that long. And so we can go into Rome when we want to, enjoy Rome, and then in the end of the day, whenever we're ready, we can take the train back. It costs like €3 each way, very reasonable, and we found it to be fantastic. So if you're somebody who wants a more like authentic Italian experience, a city that's not overrun with tourists, but still a very cute, charming town to go explore, still have access to Rome, which Tivoli does. It's a super easy access when you want to. You can go down there and check out the Colosseum and the Vatican Museum and the Vatican and Piazza Navona when you want to. And then you can head back to Tivoli and enjoy Rome from a different perspective, right? It's not what everybody has in mind when they're thinking of Rome, but I'll tell you, after having done it, I would have no reservation whatsoever. We loved it there, and we've been back a few times since then because it was so fun our first time. So I highly recommend you consider that if Rome seems a little bit overwhelming to you, too expensive to you. There's lots of reasons to head to Tivoli, but if you end up there, you're going to be surprised at how great that city is. It's a lot of fun. And that is all for this video. It was a long one. I appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. If you want to grab that guide I told you about earlier, it's our new travel guide. I put a special discount code for you for sticking to the end. It's called Home Base 50. It'll save you 50% off of the travel guide, Home Base 50. That's only those that stuck around the end to see that code. There's another code inside the description. Not quite as good of a savings, but still it's a great savings either way. But Home Base 50 will save you 50%. Thanks everybody. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. That's it. To the next one. Alla prossima. Ciao.